Hello, Jeff. So you joined in January. How have
Yes.
you made your mark in that time?
Yeah, I think myself and a number of colleagues joined this year into Pepper.
Yes.
And I think we've definitely made a big difference to the organisation. The organisation only really launched into the UK market last year. We're an Australian organisation that's been around for a long, long time. But this year we've spent quite a lot of time really trying to reshape the proposition to the marketplace, really getting the message out there into the marketplace. From a marketing perspective, we've been doing articles and advertising through Mortgage Introducer, for example, which has worked really well for us. And we probably spent quite a lot of time and effort really understanding the market that we're in and the market we want to get into. So from a marketing perspective, my world starts with market insight, really understanding what's important for the intermediary marketplace, from a service proposition, product position, so it takes away the guesswork. So a lot of the effort I've spent this so far to date has been in market research and insight, as well as trying to push the brand into the marketplace. We're a long way from where we want to be, but we're a long way down the track, which is good.
But you're here today, and that's so you're going to lots of these events, and that's part of you getting your name out there.
100%, yes. Every new lender has the same journey, so you've got to get the name recognition out there, which is one thing, but then you've got to have an understanding of what you do. So these things don't happen overnight, which is why, from a marketing perspective, we've got to do a number of different things, not just the advertising, the email marketing, but being at these events are quite important for us, because then that's where intermediaries can come talk to us. They can't talk to one of my adverts. It'd be great if I could do that, but it doesn't work that way. So yeah, these events are very important for us, because it's...
So it's also drilling into your BDMs as well, what they need to...
Oh yeah, I mean, from the research we've done this year, it's really, one of the things that stood out for me was how important my BDM is. I'd love to say that it's all about marketing, which wasn't the case. So yeah, the BDMs are very important, because the type of market we're in, every intermediary has a different case, a different story for their client. So that's where our BDMs come into their own, really. It's sort of being that first point of contact.
Yeah, in many ways, the BDM's role is sort of more important in the specialist sector, isn't it? When you've kind of been very
100%, yeah. I mean, as I say, that's what our research has shown us. So that's not just my view or a view from our sales director. That is what intermediaries are saying, how important the BDM is to their world.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And to some extent, for many lenders, it's their differentiator, to be quite frank. So,
How they differentiate themselves from others.
yeah.
So you're very much focused on the credit impaired side now.
Yes, correct.
What are the opportunities in that sector?
Right, well again, so some of the research we did this year showed very much how the market has changed, and we saw that 30% of intermediaries had seen an increase in business from clients with what I call blips on their credit rating over the last 12 months. So I really believe that this market is growing for intermediaries, but I think a lot of that is not because the number of clients have grown, it's just the fact they are realising that there's opportunities out there for them.
So do you think in the past they didn't realise?
Correct, yeah. During the credit crunch days, there was a misguided belief that unless you were squeaky clean with a 50% loan to value, you'd never get a mortgage. So I think there's a bit of an overhang from that, whereas today I think people are now starting to realise how intermediaries and lenders like Pepper can actually help them. And I think the understanding of that market is beginning to reshape itself as well, away from the pre-credit crunch days where, again, we've still got a bit of an overhang of the word subprime, which is a word which I can't stand, because the market today is very different to what it was in 2008 and before, basically. So, yeah.
Do you think credit impaired is underserved?
Yes. Yeah. It depends on how you define credit impaired, because probably one of the biggest lenders in this sector is Halifax, but they may not come out and say that, because they may have clients who've got a few issues from the past, which other lenders don't do. So I know Halifax is quite big in that space, but on the whole, yeah, it has been underserved for quite some time. But we are starting to see that change with lenders like Pepper enter the marketplace. There's other lenders entering the market or will be entering the market. So it's, I think that's good news for intermediaries. More choice increases competition, and that's important for their clients, basically.
So what are the main changes you've seen in the specialist mortgage sector?
Right, well, again, I'll go back to the research which I've been doing this year. We're doing sort of quantitative, qualitative, we're doing focus groups. And one of the things that really struck out for me is the word specialist. the word specialist mortgages, because not many brokers were using those words, and it seems to be very much of a lender-driven term than an intermediary-led term or a client-led term. Because whereas when I first entered the market in 1997, the first lender I worked for, it's quite easy to define the difference between mainstream and specialist. And then during the 2000s, I would say that those two markets merged particularly, and I think one of the drivers was buy-to-let. When buy-to-let started, it was very much seen as a specialist market. Today, it's not really seen as specialist. Brokers see it as very mainstream. So what came out in the research is brokers didn't really refer to the word specialist in the same way as lenders do. And also it meant different things to different brokers. Because you've got things like second charges, bridging, you've got your complex prime, you've got your adverse credit and so forth. So having that definition was quite more confusing than helpful. And reading between the lines what the brokers were telling us is where the key difference for me is now is the marked difference between in the past where you've got this mainstream versus specialist. That's gone. So the way we see the market now is more straightforward versus tricky or more quirky cases. So your very easy cases, the straightforward stuff, is what you would go for your traditional lenders. But there's definitely an increase in your more what we call tricky cases, which it's not necessarily all about adverse credit. So that's the fundamental change I've seen, is how the market is defined.
Is it problematic then, the word specialist?
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, I can't quote on camera some of the words how brokers define specialists, but they thought it was a load of nonsense on the whole.
Right.
And they saw their clients as clients who just have different needs. So they were saying that their clients wouldn't come into the office and say, I need a specialist mortgage. They would say, I want a mortgage. And then the client would look at their circumstances, and their words would be, this is a bit unusual, a bit tricky, a bit complex. So that's something is where the market's starting to change now, is how people define it. It's taking it away more from sort of product-led terms. And you start to see it from other lenders that are here today. They use the expressions about mortgages for real life, and it's all about being more customer-driven than product-driven. I think that's the way the market.
As opposed to what though? Fake life?
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you could argue about being a real life. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I saw that and chuckled myself.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know.
I hadn't thought that before actually. I might use that. Yeah. So I think that's probably one change, and I think if you look at the adverse credit market as well, I've seen articles written recently about people talking about subprimes coming back and all this type of nonsense, if you like, really. The market has never disappeared because the client.
Sounds very much a misnomer then. This fear of kind of we're what's the phrase? Race to the bottom. Is
correct. Yeah, I think the market is in a very different situation to it was 2008, and I'd be very surprised if we go back to what people call the unlimited, what we had pre-credit crunch. I think one of the key differences today in that market is what's driven by mortgage arrears and interest rates. Because if I go back to the 1990s, interest rates were at the highest, and there's a big correlation, unsurprisingly, with mortgage arrears. Whereas you compare that today, mortgage arrears are now at their lowest ebb of all time. So the old thinking of subprime mortgages were all about people who miss payments and this type of stuff. We're seeing today, that's not the case. So yes, there's still people with what we call life-changing events that have blips on their credit ratings through because of the result of divorce, loss of income, or they become self-employed. But a lot of the times it's more their lifestyles rather than life-changing events. They're busy, they forget to pay their credit cards and that type of stuff. So today it's more about the client, their situation, their lifestyle, than the economic drivers behind it.
But also there's regulation now, just changed things. Is that a challenge for you guys because you're trying to serve credit impaired, but then perhaps the regulator might frown upon it if you went too far down that road?
No, regulation's a really good thing for the marketplace, and I think that would help it. If you look at if you do a bit of what I call market sizing, the big chunk of this market is that what most people generally used to call near prime. So people with sometimes no CCJs, no arrears, but they've got default or other issues. As you start going down the old unlimited route, it's such a small market. It doesn't really exist. And I think the changes in regulation is actually a good thing to make sure that those turns about running into the abyss of the past. That's why it won't happen in my view, because the regulators change the environment, which is a good thing. But also, the market's not there either. As these people used to define the difference between won't pay and can't pay, and I think today it's very different. It's just people with it's all of circumstances that have happened, and that's what's caused their blips in their credit rating. So these people could be people from very high income brackets through to all walks of life, all ages, from first time buyers right up to lending into retirement. So it happens to everyone for different reasons, and the key is that every story is different. Today, listening to brokers come and ask us questions about their particular cases, they are all unique to them. So, which is why I don't like categorising clients as you are subprime, you are adverse. No, they're just clients.
Probably makes for an interesting role, doesn't it? Then advising on these cases.
For intermediaries, yes, and I think that's where their bulk of their business will come in the future, because I think there's a real risk to the intermediary space through technology. Some of the larger lenders, I think, will use technology to try and recover some of their market share from a direct perspective.
So you think this is where brokers will show their value?
100%. So earlier I talked about the difference between you've got your straightforward versus your tricky. The more straightforward the case, the more likely a client will be able to go direct. So I think which is why I think intermediaries will see a lot more business in the trickier realm, which doesn't necessarily have to be adverse credit. It could be self-employed, lending in retirement, anything that's a bit more complicated. That's will become much more bread and butter for intermediaries. And we've seen the growth from the research we've done this year. Growth in adverse credit lending, inquiries from clients, and probably the biggest growth was lending in retirement, which is not really a surprise to anyone, because everyone knows it's a growing market.
So are you involved in lending in retirement?
No, we're not really an active lender.
Are you looking at that then?
Whereas a number of areas we are looking at, that's all we're doing at the moment. We are, there's lots of niches we've identified. Whether we go into them is another thing. So it's one step at a time, really. But we will lend to clients on residential up to the age of 75 at the end of term. So and we do take into account retirement income, and we lend to buy-to-let clients up to the age of 85. So in essence, we are, we've got our toes in that market, but we're not really. I wouldn't call us a lending into retirement lending. No.
So what is Pepper's key focus going forward?
Right. Well, right now, our proposition is all about helping clients who have tricky needs, and I think we will continue that, because I think that opens up lots of other niches in the future. But for right now, we're very focused on helping clients with what I call those blips on their credit rating. So, and that's what we will continue to really focus on and get better and better at in the future, because I think there's a lot more opportunities for intermediaries out there in that space. One of the things that brokers like about us is that we don't credit score. We have very much a human approach to the underwriting. So we have a real appetite to lend in this market. We have humans looking at the cases. We don't have robots doing it, and that's what brokers really like. In fact, we try to find a solution as much as possible. We are flexible in our underwriting criteria. Big goals for the future. We want to continue to grow as a business. We're still new in the UK. So for now, we're really going to focus on getting better and making things easier for intermediaries, basically.
What about for you personally, in terms of the marketing perspective? What can we expect to see coming up?
Well, it's a very interesting question, actually, because I think one of the key things from a marketing perspective is it's an overused expression. It's about bringing the proposition to life. So at the moment, we are working on really sort of enhancing the proposition to the marketplace, because you've got to get the strategy right before you really start delivering the key messages to the marketplace. So I really want to try things that are a bit more innovative. I haven't really got the solutions yet. If anyone's got any ideas, let me know. But we just know we've got to get stand out in the marketplace, and there's many ways you do that. You do that through your service, your product, your BDNs, which I talked about earlier, and also marketing as well. We do some really good marketing. Keeps us cut through in this crowded market space, and that's what it's all about, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
But our marketing's got to get the right message and in the right way for the intermediaries.
Can you learn anything from your previous roles in terms of helping Pepper?
Oh, massively, yeah. So, previous lenders I worked for, I know I've done quite a lot of work in what I call the psychographic understanding of intermediaries. So I know what makes them tick. I know what's important from a marketing perspective. I'm not going to share that on camera because it gives us a competitive advantage. But yeah, like anyone, any job, experience gives you lots of advantages. But as long as you keep challenging the status quo, which is what we do at Pepper.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you. Good to see you. Yeah.